Okay. Oh, Gail.
Yeah.
Okay. Call to order for the November 16th meeting of the High Point Regional High School Board of Education. And will you please stand for a flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
I get Paul Ryan. Wait a minute to go and take. And then I will read the Open Public Meetings Act. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, and Sussex post offices, and notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, the Advertiser North and South, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex, and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Wantage. Our mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. To have a roll call, Ms. Belton.
Absolutely. Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Nugent?
Here.
Mrs. Schuman?
Here.
Mr. Caraza?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Sedona?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Arnold?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
We have a quorum. We also have in attendance Dr. Ripley and myself.
Excellent. So a motion will be made that the High Point Regional High School Board of Education enter executive session to provide an update on negotiations, legal and personnel items which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public when appropriate. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session virtually or in person, and at the conclusion of the executive session. It is not anticipated that any action will be taken. And have a motion. Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now in executive session. Okay, thank you, Mr. Yard. May I have a motion to return to public session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are now back in public session. We have no unfinished business, so we'll proceed to approval of minutes. Alisa?
Okay. Our last meeting was a regular meeting on October 19th, 21. All members of the board were present. The board heard presentations by the student council, speaker of the house, the principal, director of curriculum, and we had the annual SSDS presentation. The board voted on items for curriculum, 5 policies, personnel, financial, insurance, and transportation. There were 2 public comment sections in the meeting. No one either in person or virtually spoke. There was a brief discussion by several board members regarding the cost to the district for lawsuits. Even if the district wins, there is a fee that must be paid that is normally unbudgeted and unplanned for. The executive session of the same night, October 19th, executive session was opened at 6:04 to discuss legal matters, personnel, and negotiations. The legal matters and negotiation details remain ongoing and unresolved, therefore they cannot be disclosed at this time. Items that can be released from confidentiality are stipends and/or additional compensation for the athletic director and nurse.
Okay. Any comments on either the regular minutes or the executive session minutes of October 19th?
I just had one correction under the regular minutes. On page 7 of personnel, it said motion was made by Joe Caraza. I believe I made it. It's page 7. Okay. Sorry, Joe. You do transportation. Oh, no.
That was started as a regular?
Yes.
Sure.
Include that. Okay.
So we amend the motion to approve the amended regular meeting minutes of October 19, 2021, and the executive session minutes of October 19, 2021. Any other comments? If not, a roll call on those, please.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes. Both motions carried.
Great. Our first public comments section, this is pertaining to agenda items only. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open to public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by myself. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. And as in previous meetings, there are 2 methods which you can address the board. One is in person here at the podium. The second is virtually via our online platform. Anyone in attendance would like to please step to the podium. If we have any in person, Mr. Yardley, do we have anybody online?
Nobody's raising their hand right now.
Okay. I have a motion to close the first public comment session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry for the delay. Any opposed?
No.
Seeing none, first public comment section is closed. Now we go on to presentations. I don't believe we have our student council. Oh, yes, sorry. Hello, Ariana. We have Ariana Kojikaro, Speaker of the House, will update the board on the activities of the student council. Sorry.
Okay. Hello.
Hi.
To begin, our Fall Spirit Week was a huge success. More students participated than previous Spirit Weeks in the past. And the
Themed days were Monday, it was virtual learning day in school, which was students pretty much dressing how they dressed during virtual learning. Tuesday was Senior Citizen Day, which was to dress as a senior citizen. Wednesday was Anything But a Backpack Day, which was particularly popular with the students. There was a lot of wagons in the hallways. Thursday was Dress Like Adam Sandler Day. Friday was Halloween costumes. And the total scores goes to participation for the class of classes. Seniors are in first and freshmen are second. Hallway decorating will be on December 9th and tear down on Wednesday, December 22nd. We are going to decide that in our next student council meeting tomorrow, our themes for the hallway. We'd have December Spirit Days on the 17th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And Student Council will spearhead a character development initiative in January. We will be focused on creating a more mature, kind, and respectful climate at High Point. Student Council will coordinate with other clubs and sports teams to get to work together on character development activities focused on social and emotional learning, self-awareness, self-control, and interpersonal skills.
Excellent. Any questions? Dr. Cora?
Just thanks again for coming out. We appreciate it. Thank you for
Yes,
having
thank
me.
Thank you.
Next presentation, Ms. Carla Mancuso, HPEA President, will update the presentation on HPEA items. Welcome, Ms. Mancuso.
Yes, good evening. I just came from the ESP Awards dinner at Corona Farms, that's why I'm dressed like this. Nancy Ricada from Sussex Wantage is our ESP of the year for Sussex County. Congratulations to her. We had in attendance Greer Zeitz, who was retiring. She gave me permission to speak about her. We had Victoria Storr, another person in the secretarial field. We also had, our principal's secretary, Janet. So they were enjoying the festivities and they're well deserved. If you really want to know what ESPs do, you can't live without ESP. Go onto YouTube and go without a day without ESPs, and it'll show you exactly what goes on between maintenance, secretaries, paraprofessionals. We can't live without them. So that's where I was tonight. I would like to thank the board, especially the negotiations team and Mr. Dunn for resolving our negotiations, and we're just waiting on the MOA from your side, and we'll move forward with that. So well appreciated. As far as what's going on in the news, currently, I want to thank our principal. We will be meeting as a staff in person and discussing our concerns and what we can do as a team to move forward. It has been rough on admin, it has been rough on staff, and it has been rough on our students. Nothing is normal, and thank you for all your service. This is a trying times right now. And concern is that, New Jersey is upticking again, and the schools that are closing, Lafayette, Morristown High School is closing. That's not in our control, but it just concerns. Any questions for me? Again, thank you for your service. This isn't an easy time for any of you to serve in this capacity. I know that other school boards are being attacked and whatnot for vaccine mandates and masks and whatnot, and thank you. Yes,
Call on me, Carla, call on me.
yes, yes.
I would also like to say that we are very happy to have concluded the negotiations process, and we are trying very hard to get that document to you so that your people can take a look at it. So we're very thrilled to have completed the process, and I hope you know that.
Yeah, it's feeling, well, yeah, likewise, every teacher in the hallway, when are we gonna,
Yeah.
we just need,
Yep, and so you need the piece of paper so
Yes.
everybody can read through it together and know what we all did, and hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later, okay?
perfect, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just, we appreciate what the
Yes.
teachers and the staff are doing, because we are aware of what it's.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
will pass on that message. Thank you. We are a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moon. Next, presentation, the principal's report and athletics report, Mr. John Talme.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing today? Strong alignment. That's okay. So we're gonna go through both the principal's report and also the athletic report this evening. Start with the principal's report. This is hot off the press. We're happy and excited to be able to announce our students of the marking period. And we have students that are selected for each department, as well as the principal student of the marking period. So for the first marking period of this year, Louis Mecca. For business, for principal student was Louis Mecca. Business was Caitlin Logan. English was Haley Rossi. Physical education was Colin Cronin. Health was Sydney Holder. History was Jeremy Gould. Math was Andrew Beveau. Performing arts, Ethan Horn. Science, Preston Sherrock. Technological studies, Tanner Okeson. Visual arts, Sophia Margiato. And world language, Alfred Castellani. So these students are students that are nominated by teachers in each department. It's a pretty intensive process. I talked to students, and actually next week we're going to do a little bit of a luncheon for them up in the roadkill, which is always fun to do and celebrate with them. And it's not an easy task. The teachers always go back and forth about their nominations, and they take it very, very seriously about who they're nominating for their department and recognize. So we do that each market period. And it's a really great time for the students to celebrate and be with each other. And it's funny because sometimes they don't even know that they're nominated until they get the letters and they get the acclamations and stuff like that. And they don't necessarily know why. Like, hey, I don't have the best grade in math. Well, it's not always about the grade that you have, right? It's about who you are as a student and what you do. So congratulations to those students. We're very proud of them, and we look forward to having a little bit of luncheon next week. For our school events, shifting gears a little bit, Clue, if you didn't get a chance to see it, was an absolute fantastic laugh out loud show. Again, kudos to Mr. Riccardi, all of our students that were part of the crew, the behind the scenes crew, the backstage crew, the lighting crew, obviously all of our costumes, and of course the people that were on stage as well. So the students did a fantastic job, and it was a lot of joy. Tearful eyes, but a lot of that was about joy of being together and being able to, celebrate their culmination of things as well. The first marking period ended successfully. We just talked about with that students of the marking period. Amazing to know that that's already happened. It's already here. We're already looking at the second marking period, and the midway point of that is December 13th, which fast comes as November is kind of a chopped up month and a lot of things happen. We were planning on having 8th grade tours, as we talked about previously, in this November with things that are happening in a lot of different schools. We felt as a team it was best to postpone those until January. There's a lot of cases going on in different schools, and 8th grade tours requires a lot of mixing of student populations. So we just felt at this point right now it's better to do that and do that during the week of January 24th, which one of the things on the docket since this evening is that change in schedule for the half days. And the 8th grade open house will follow soon after that, usually the end of January. Again, as long as things all hold out like they should. Excited also for What's Your Anti-Drug Contest. We have that each year. That's sponsored by Center for Prevention and Counseling in Newton. And our students are always involved in that. And this year, our chosen winner was Sierra Vigiano. She was chosen for her artwork as well. So we're always proud of our students for standing up with what they believe in, but also then being able to put it out there as well with their artwork or their music work as things go on. As Ms. Mancuso talked about, there's been a lot of challenges that have been before us. We've seen a lot of communication from me. We talked about this at the last board meeting as well, a little bit. We are working on that head on. And it's not any challenges that are not immune to us as a society, that are not immune to other schools as well. We're working with small student groups, we're working with larger student groups, we're working with staff groups as well, focusing on what they call the multifaceted approach to that. There's not one solution, we don't believe, with those things. We believe in our student body, we believe in Hyde Park Regional High School, we believe in our staff every single day. We are not impermeable, our walls are not impermeable to the outside world and what's going on. That's a given. Sometimes it's effective in schools in a short time, sometimes you see it over a long time. And again, we are not impermeable to those situations. So we work through those, we work with our students, and we believe in our students. I've met with the student body several times, virtually and also in person. Also, I always prefer in person, like these things, but sometimes that's just the way that had to be. So we did have student meetings with them as well. I had student meetings with them right before the short week last week, and talked a lot about the fact that we do believe in them. We talked a lot about the fact that we know we all want to be better together, and we can be better together. And in fact, that respect is for everybody, not necessarily one group of students versus the other, but just in general. So that has been a message that we continue to reiterate. And again, we're very proud of what our students and staff are doing, but we need to be better in some areas, and we will get there over time. We have additional counseling, support staffs coming in. We have our counselors and child study team that are working tirelessly to support our students, in every capacity that they can as well. As I said to the parents I met with last week for, one of my parent advisory meeting, said it's a team effort, right? It's a partnership. What we do here reflects what we do at home. And that's a really important partnership that we take, very, very seriously. So any questions on any of those things? Shifting gears, okay, Mr. Dunn, to the athletic report from Mr. Dexter. Soccer final record was 10-8. They lost to Pequannock in a tough game in the state tournament. They qualified for the state tournament, lost out to Pequannock. Girls soccer is 9-5-1, and they were the 8th seed in the tournament, and they lost to Pascack Hills in a close game as well. Very hard-fought game there. Girls tennis final record 3-6. They qualified for the state tournament and lost to Riverdale. Football finished 2-8, lost to participating regional crossover game. If you're lucky, final record of 8-9. Qualified for the state tournament, lost to West Essex. I think we played like West Essex. West Essex is like 12 or 13 years, it feels like. Every time we get to the state tournament, we play West Essex, and if you're lucky, West for a historically long period of time. Boys cross country finished 9-2. Girls cross country finished 11-0, won a league title. They finished 6th in the sectional race at Garrett Mountain, and finished 9th in the sectional race at Garrett Mountain for the boys. Parker Fulham finished 10th overall, and this in, he had a Group 2 final today. Of course, the team went down and supported him, which I thought was awesome. Then he went down and supported him down in Holmdel, and he finished 33rd out of, I think, about 150 races overall. His time was 17:34, which is pretty fast. So congratulations to Parker. For those who don't know, it was on Saturday. We had some storms go through, and it basically canceled the race, as well as a lot of other events that were going on. So he all warmed up, ready to go, and then they called the race off and said, okay, everybody go back home. So he came back in today to do that. So that was a good thing. And then last but surely not least, if I can just flip the page here, the extra report, we have our players of the week and that we'd like to recognize as always. We have October 25th to 29th, Sarah Harnett for girls soccer, Joan Ripley, some of you may know that individual, for football. November 8th, November 12th, Parker Fulham, cross country, and Michaela Nelson for girls soccer. So kudos to those individuals for being recognized for their athletic and academic achievements, as well as what they represent every single day. And the final thing I'd like to say, as Ms. Mancuso talked about, the ESP is they are the backbone of our institution. We talk about that often. You hear me talk about, the custodians, not just because one of them just came in here and took care of something we didn't know what was going on. Security staff in the back, right? All of our support staff and our secretaries, administrative assistants that do a tremendous amount of work. And if all is left untold, until it's not done, and then you see what it is they do every single day. So very, very appreciative and proud of what they do every single day. All right.
And John, I'd like to say, Mr. Talman, I'd like to add on to what Gail was saying about how much we appreciate the staff and the administration right now is struggling, as well as everybody, to just keep everything going in the right direction. And we appreciate all the hard work, we appreciate all the extra hours, we appreciate all the craziness that everybody has to deal with together as a team. As Carla just said, we are a team, and the board wants you guys to know that we are supportive of what you're going through. And we know you can fix it, we know you can get through this, it's just tough all over, but it'll be okay.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. We continue to work together. As we said, collaboration is important, and it's a multi-link, and we keep growing.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna keep doing. Some days we make a lot of progress, some days we don't, but we'll keep growing. Okay? Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And we move on to our final presentation, curriculum instruction by Mr. Seamus Campbell.
Good, thank you, folks. It's great to be here this evening. We have a presentation. Fantastic. It's a guess who on our first slide. Does anyone recognize any members of the High Point graduates or staff, current staff, who have proudly served in the armed services? So thank you to Ms. Palasek and to Mr. Santiago, our school resource officer, and to Mr. Michael Langen for their dedicated service. They are an example to today's students as far as the pride and dignity associated with military service. So thank you. That was a while ago, I think, right?
Just yesterday, yeah.
Terrific. We are also doing some curricular activities related to Veterans Day. I want to thank Mr. Langen, who does a great job of networking with High Point graduates who have served our country in the military, and he brings them in regularly. We also have a letter writing campaign to a veterans home in Paramus that we will be undertaking. So as I thought about this evening's presentation, I realized I had very little to present, and I didn't want to disappoint Mr. Peraza or any other members. So I thought I would just quickly think back to where we were a year ago. And so I went and I looked on our portal of communications from Dr. Ripley, and 1 year ago today, we were sending out yet another message that we would be closed for an indefinite period of time. This is what our students experienced last year, and the burden our staff faced trying to keep them motivated and connected was an epic, historic struggle. So Thanksgiving is around the corner. Let's truly give thanks to what is happening. All our struggles, with all our challenges, think about what our students and our staff are doing right now. This is what a classroom looks like today. It's fully in person and has been since the start of the school year. And let's keep it going because it's just incredible. I want to talk about some field trips. One of the things that makes High Point a world-class school and a truly exceptional school relative to other school districts in our region is the support Dr. Ripley and this Board of Education give to those special things that make it a bit different. And everything you see behind me is the result of a dedicated teacher who went the extra step to make that classroom extension experience happen. Trips are a great deal of work. Thank you to June and Rachel and their staff for working tirelessly. But our students experienced some really fantastic stuff. Last week, they went to the No Limits Cafe. They drove all the way to Red Bank, New Jersey, and engaged in a transition service experience where they saw a restaurant fully operated by adults with disabilities. So that's a great trip, and it was an awesome day for the staff and the students that went. Our science department leads the way. They're constantly finding ways to bring students to the learning atmosphere. Sometimes it's the woods out here, and sometimes it's as nearby as Stoke State Forest. Mr. Rupert, Mr. Emma, and I want to thank Mr. Blevins for some support he's given to the Outdoor Fishing Club. Recently took the kids fishing at Flatbrook Tap House. Oh, did I say Flatbrook? Flatbrook Tap House is something, they didn't go to the tap house. Not part of the trip. Environmental science, Stoke State Forest. The fine art department, Storm King, if you've been there, it's exciting. Our students loved it. And again, it's a lot of work to put these trips together. Our fine art department, our students carved pumpkins, and Mr. Talamay, I think, trucked them up to Crystal Springs, and our students competed with students from around the area. Ms. Ayers and the science department have took probably 85 of our students to an aquarium in Camden. That's probably a 2.5, 3-hour ride on a bus, but it was a meaningful enrichment experience, and so we thank them for that. Not only do we take students out to experience learning, but thank you to our staff who have creatively brought in great guest speakers. The K-9 unit from the state police, thank you, Ms. Sunda, and the controlled burn that we've spoken about, that will be taking place later this week or early next week, and our students will get that hands-on field experience with doing science experiments. We're a special place, and these enrichment activities are one of the reasons why. And when you think back to the fact that our students were learning from their bedrooms and living rooms a year ago, it's something to truly be grateful for. Oh, also, our guidance department, almost every day we have a college rep in, a military rep, a college or a university or a trade school, oftentimes multiple, and they're out there every day. And it's a great reminder to our students, even if that's not their particular interest, that there are options right around the corner for them to think about. I had a chance to sit in on last week. Ms. Loyola had a freedom rider. Mr. Mark Levy was an activist in the 1960s. He worked with SNCC and he marched in Selma, and he spent 90 minutes with our students talking about, it's a social justice class, so you talk about how you can make a positive change in your world today. And here he is, part of one of the most famous civic action movements in our history, speaking with our current students about how to make a difference. And sometimes we just have fun. So hats off to Guy Fieri and Princess Leia and our students for bringing some fun with them. We'd like to also talk about the fact that in September of 2021, a law went into effect that required that diversity be embraced and incorporated into school curriculums in New Jersey at a greater level. And we have gone above and beyond to just begin to do more in this area. We have partnered with Newsella, so our students, multifaceted cross-curricular literacy engagement with articles and topics highlighting contributions from members of the LGBTQ+ community. So in every field, students, when they use one of our most popular platforms, will have access to a text set which highlights contributions from that group. Our social studies teachers worked over the past 2 summers to develop lessons that highlight the contributions of people that are often less emphasized or given less attention in the course of study. It could be race, it could be migration status, it could be socioeconomic status, and it also has an emphasis on persons with disabilities who have made historic contributions. Language arts, increased diversity to authors, performing arts, the same. Health and physical education, Mr. Dexter and I have participated in ongoing professional development with the Department of Ed on how to incorporate health and phys ed standards, and we'll be inviting some of the teachers in that department to join us in the near future. In January, we will have Gilder Lehrman come in, and they will do a workshop for High Point teachers as well as teachers from around the county that focus on civic action, and a particular point of emphasis will be immigration. It's also going to be the focus of our annual Stand Up Against Hate Symposium. So we can have a broader understanding of that issue. We can look at every aspect of it, economic, political, social, etc., and provide an inclusive, world-class experience for our students. 2 years assembly presented by Garden State Equality was one of the most well-received afternoon PD sessions from the perspective of our staff, and we are in contact with them to come back this year and present to our staff again. So I just want to update the board. You'll read about that. There was a lot in the media about it. It's a law that went into effect this September. We have been preparing for it for the past year. Many of the things it requires, we already do, but it's an opportunity to reflect on what you do and see if you are fully embracing the spirit of that law and finding areas perhaps to strengthen your curriculum where you might not be as strong as you could be. So, any questions on any of that? Great question. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our presentations. We have no other business, so let's go right into action items. First up is curriculum instruction and technology. Bree, take it away.
Good. We are, I'm just going to, we're just acknowledging items 1 through 3, the faculty attendance rate, student attendance rate, and the suspension rate that was enclosed. I'm going to move items 4 through 6 together. So 4 is the HIB report. 5 is the field trip and curricular and co-curricular as attached, and 6 are the professional development activities. So making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All motions carried.
And then number 7, I just wanted to do by itself simply because it's a change in the schedule, so I wanted it to be, clear that we're recommending, we approved the adjustment to the calendar, so half-day schedule for students on the January 24th to the 27th for midterms. So making motion, seeking second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next action items are personnel.
I'd like to move number 1. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves a stipend of $4,000 for the 2021-2022 school year, payable in quarterly amounts of $1,000. The athletic director and supervisor of health and phys ed, Mr. Christopher Dexter, for the other responsibilities of supervising all extracurricular activities in the health office. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Items 2 through 4, and 4 can be found on the addendum. 2 recommends approval of a substitute nurse. Number 3, approval of a substitute teacher. And number 4, accepting the resignation of one-on-one LPN paraprofessional. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All motions carried.
Me.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Nugent, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Motion's carried.
And I'd like to move number 5 for the hiring of administrative assistant to the athletic director. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Discussion?
Ms. Pavlik, should we read this one in its entirety, or is that
We should, because it's an addendum, it wasn't on the, posted.
sorry?
Okay, that's okay. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves Jessica Martin as administrative assistant to the athletic director, step 7, on the 2020-2021 secretarial guide for $46,428 prorated, effective December 1st or upon release from current employer for the 2021-2022 school year, pending receipt of all required paperwork. This is to replace the retirement position. Okay, making a motion, seeking a second.
Second, oh,
Or do I have to do that again?
Like,
We had
do that.
separate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read it, okay. Discussion. Roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Yes, well. Next up is extracurricular. You okay with that, Mr. Arnold? Remotely?
Absolutely.
Got the addendum items also, right?
Yes. All right, so I'm going to move 1 through 4 on the original agenda first. It's recommended that the board accept the resignation of Arthur Mina as head ski coach. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves William Constantino as a volunteer winter track coach. Recommended that the board accept the resignation of Chris Dexter as the head girls tennis coach. It is recommended that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Brian Drellick as the assistant girls tennis coach. Make a motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All motions carried.
Okay, and then I will move 5 and 6 off of the addendum. Number 5, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves Jonathan Faraday as a volunteer ice hockey coach for the 2021-2022 school year. Number 6, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves David Lotto as a volunteer winter track coach for the 2021-2022 school year, pending receipt of all necessary documents. Make a motion seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
We have one item under policy.
I'd like to move number 1 and only. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the first reading of the following new policies. Policy 2425, emergency virtual or remote instruction program. Making a motion seeking a second.
Second.
Discussion?
I just think it's kind of important that we talk about what this is, because and Dr. Lee, you can fill in my gaps, because there will be some. But apparently, the governor said that we cannot have virtual snow days. The only way we can have virtual learning is if by emergency closure, or if we have to be closed 3 days in a row, then we can go to virtual learning. So I think it's an important thing that the community knows that we're not going to, if it's snowing, your kids have the day off, there's no virtual snow day stuff happening. Is that accurate?
Very good. It, as a matter of fact, the 3 days consecutively, if it were a local determination, not based upon a state of emergency forced closure, they may not be accepted either. So, we did communicate this to administration and to staff. Now that the board has, had the opportunity to hear this officially, we will then communicate it out to the larger community. Yes, so the old days of snow days are back.
Or back in play?
And a cheer went out amongst the children.
Did
Well, I
not
think-
go out.
Until we're careful and
Yeah. But I think it's important to know, as we've discussed, that regardless, when we have a snow day, where we live, we often lose power and internet, so to expect a remote instruction to take place in that environment is probably only half the class would show up or be able to attend, so I think, it makes sense for us anyway.
And the teachers as well.
Yeah, that's true, right? The teachers can.
We'll live up here in the same conditions.
Yes.
So this was a mandated policy change?
Yes, it is.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Under negotiations, we actually have an action item. I will move item 1. Board of Education hereby approves the tentative agreement with the High Point Education Association regarding the 2022 teacher schedule as included in attachment E1.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that negotiations item? Just for clarity, this is a portion of the contract negotiations that we have reached a verbal agreement with the HPA. This is not it in its entirety, in case there was any understanding that it was. Any other discussion, thoughts, comments? None? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have no action items under buildings and grounds. Any update on current projects, or you want to hold that till?
We're doing good. Rich, you have something to say about what's going on?
Yeah, they're moving forward.
Okay.
With it, I'm referring to the tank removal and the installation. The new tank is full and the school is running off of that tank now.
And the new signs are gonna be up shortly.
The scoreboard.
Yes.
No, I mean signs
Oh,
around the campus. And the scoreboards are in,
I did happen
waiting,
to see they
waiting for the electrician?
Correct.
Okay. We're doing well around here with nothing, we don't have to pass any resolutions or any action items, but things are moving along. All right, I'm done, Joe.
Okay, finance, I'll take finance, let me move, 1 through 5 together. 1 is, recommendation accept the report of the board secretary, business administrator for the month of October 21. 2 is recommendation accept the report of the treasurer for the month of October 2021. 3 is a recommendation accept, to approve the report of transfers and minimum expense transfer report for the month of October 2021. 4 is a recommendation to approve for payment the attached schedule of audited bills dated November 16th, 2021. And 5 is a recommendation to accept the adult education agency account, athletic account, cafeteria account, principals, petty cash account, scholarship account, school store account, and student activities account for the month of October 2021. Make that motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on 1 through 5? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All motions carried.
I'm going to move 6 separately. 6 is a recommendation to acknowledge and gratefully accept the attached list of donations received from the Kick for the Cause soccer game organized by Coach Kevin Fenlon. That was in attachment G6. I believe that attachment had an aggregate value that escapes me at the moment. But it was sizable. And not necessarily important, but
4 or 5,000, right?
was it worth, okay, yes. Let's say $4,000 to $5,000. So I make that motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to thank Coach Fenlon for organizing that activity. It's always a lot of work to do those kinds of things, and it's appreciated when teachers and any staff member really goes out of their way to take the time to seek help, Thank you.
Yeah, I've had 2 daughters be part of the Kick for, it was Kick for a Cure at one point in time, now Kick for a Cause. An awesome event, and I'm glad to see that it still continues to raise funds. No other discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 7 is a recommendation to approve and authorize the execution of the following tuition contract between High Point Regional High School as ascending and the following district and regular information as receiving as the Pilar School for the 2021-2022 school year effective October 24th, plus extraordinary services as listed. I'll make that motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on item 7? None, so.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumann?
Yeah.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 8 is a recommendation to gratefully accept the following list of musical instrument donations to be used in our concert band, wind ensemble, and music technology courses received from a donor who wishes to remain anonymous. There's an extensive list of items that I believe we have an estimated value of approximately $1,200 on. Well, I'll wait for discussion. Can I have a second for?
Second.
I'll open up discussion and just say that we would like to graciously acknowledge the anonymous donor in an anonymous fashion for those donations. Anyone else? If not, roll call.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumann?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And 9 is actually another donation or recommendation to acknowledge and gratefully accept 4 dictionaries donated by Mike Dolan through the Branchville Rotary Club, which will be used in our English language learner course. I'll make that motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? None?
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumann?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
How about I move 10 and 11 together to finish up finance? 10 is a recommendation to approve the application and eventual use of the funds from the following grants. ESSER, Accelerated Learning, Coaching, and Educator Support Grant, Evidence-Based Summer Learning and Enrichment Activities Grant, Evidence-Based Comprehensive Beyond the School Day Activities Grant, and the NJTSS Mental Health Support Staffing Grant for the 2021-2022 school year. And they are as listed in the amounts for which are being applied. And also moving item 11 is a recommendation to approve 1 physical therapy and 1 occupational therapy evaluation to be conducted by the Burlington County Special Services School District for student 91700. Cost of each evaluation is $362 for a total of $724. Make the motion on those two items. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just mention on item 10 that those numbers are not small numbers, and if we were to eventually realize those grants, they are potentially game-changing for our finances. So certainly, the finance committee, and I imagine the entire board would be very grateful for whatever efforts are put into that grant application process. We'll keep our fingers crossed. No other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schumann?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then we move on to transportation. Roz,
I'm gonna move items number 1 through 9 together.
yeah.
Item 1, requesting that we approve and authorize the execution of a parental contract for transportation for sports for the current school year as listed. Item 2 is a recommendation to approve and authorize a joint transportation agreement for transportation for sports for the current school year as listed. Item 3 is a recommendation to approve and authorize a parental contract for transportation to the MCST Academy for Environmental Sciences as listed. Item 4 is request to approve and authorize the joint transportation agreement for a parental contract also for transportation to the MCST Academy for Environmental Sciences for the current school year as listed. Item number 5, it's recommended we approve and authorize a joint transportation agreement for the current school year as listed. Item 6 is a recommendation to approve and authorize the execution of a joint transportation agreement for the transportation of special education students for the current school year as listed. Item number 7 is a recommendation to approve and authorize a joint transportation agreement for the current school year as listed. Item number 8, the recommendation to approve and authorize a quoted contract for transportation for the current school year as listed. And item number 9 is again a recommendation to approve and authorize quoted contracts for trips for the 2021-22 school year as listed. Making a motion, do I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to point out that when we had that last committee meeting and June was in the meeting, we talked, she read through all of this and said, all right, well, that's it. And I was like, that's it? Like, that's a ton of work. So I told, I know she doesn't listen to these meetings, but I made sure that she knew that we talked about it. And she knows that we really appreciate what she's doing. She literally makes the wheels on the bus go around.
Well said, sir, well said.
Any other discussion?
We have communicated to Ms. Williams, the board sentiments. She very much appreciates those sentiments.
Seeing nothing else, roll call, please.
Because that was very clever. Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All motions carry.
Last but not least, item number 10. Item number 10, recommending we approve the completion of the bus evacuation drills for the current school year. High Point completed their first annual school bus evacuation drill on Thursday, October 21st, 2021, Friday, October 22nd, 2021. Rear door evacuation drill was held in the front of the school from 7:05 to 7:30 a.m. for the following routes: 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 23, 24, 25, MHP1 and MHP2. And on the side for the following routes, 18 and MHP3. This completes our first bus evacuation requirement for the current school year. Making a motion, seeking a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Nugent?
Yes.
Mrs. Schuman?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Sedona?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Caraza?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That concludes our action items. We have no correspondence. Under miscellaneous, our standing item, noting school board mandated training, please contact the board office if you still need to be set that. I imagine come January, that means might be more applicable. So that leads us to our second public comments section of the evening. The same rules apply as first section, except that it is not limited to agenda items at this point in time. If you want to step to the podium, state your name and address. believe we have anybody in person here. Hardly anybody online raising their hand.
Yeah, let's just give.
We'll give them a minute. Saying none? May I have a motion to close the second public comment session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any non-committee board member reports or comments?
Yeah.
This is Anderson.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to once again talk about the Sussex Wantage Chamber of Commerce. We hold a seat on that board. I think 2 people can attend any meeting. And I've been going to that meeting, it's monthly breakfast meeting at Friendly's in Wantage. I've been going, I don't know how many years, 5, 7 years. It is such a worthwhile thing. We gain so much by networking with our local people, local government, other schools in the Sussex Wantage School District, and local business. We have come away with more than we have given to them. We have partnerships. We have, I say this often, the Sussex Rural Electric Corporation or company or consortium or whatever the C stands for. And we have an internship with them. I really, really want somebody, if not a variety of people, to go to those meetings every Wednesday, the 3rd Wednesday of the month, generally the day after we meet. And you brag on what we've been doing in here a little bit, and they love to hear it. And it's fun. Breakfast is half price. You gotta pay for it, but it's half price. And it's just a lovely event with really good people. So I'm going again tomorrow. I only have 2 left, and I'm gonna miss it tremendously, along with some other cool things here, but I really want us to continue our relationship with them. Okay, that's it.
I think that's great, but I think all our retired people are leaving.
Yes.
Which creates a bit of an issue, because I think
Yes,
my
it's
job would
difficult.
frown upon the fact that I took off of Wednesday every month. But,
It's a virtual piece.
thank you, I
If
appreciate you
someone has an
going.
opportunity to get there somehow, administratively, you guys tag team it and go
I was
on
gonna
over
say, maybe
there,
we
so.
can rotate, I
Yeah.
should take off a day,
Yeah.
like every couple months, but.
Yeah.
We
don't show up every month.
Right. I would like to, as usual, just mention the food bank again. How's our stock looking there, Mr. Campbell, do you know? Mr.
The food pantry?
Talman?
Yes, with her every single day. Particular item, relevant is our efforts outside of our walls. We do our Thanksgiving donations, and this year we're donating to one of the local food pantries there to families that are in need. So
So I would just encourage anybody, like, if every kid in this school, well, whatever, half the kids in this school brought in a can of soup, it would, that's a lot of soup, right? And it can go very far, and it doesn't cost much. So I just, especially with the holidays coming, and there is a greater need now than ever. So I just would like to, stress that.
I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving in advance. It's our penultimate meeting of the year. We have one left in December. And later in that meeting, we'll be discussing changes on the board and some people that will not be with us. So we'll save it for the December meeting.
I actually just thought of something, one more thing, sorry, guys. I want to say thank you to all the volunteers. We have a lot of staff members or community members that volunteer their time as coaches, as whatever, and that's really it's what makes the community such a great community to be part of, and it's so important, because we would be spending a lot of money if we had to shell out a penny for every volunteer position. It'd be a lot more, obviously, than free. I'm not real good at math, but I know that much. So I just want to say thank you to our volunteers.
Thank you.
What else? Any board member reports, comments? Nat, our last section of other business, there is none
Correct.
to mention, so I'll proceed to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Good night, Mr. Arnold.
Good night, everybody.
Better, Spencer.
Thank you. Good night.